Hey everybody, it is Kit here. Happy Sunday and welcome back to some Dragon Yarns Crochet. Uh, we are once again working with the blanket that never seems to grow. Actually, I should soon, maybe not this episode, but maybe next episode, I will stand and show you guys what it looks like on me. It's like over my waist from the top of my feet, which is pretty decent, I guess. I'm not exactly, I don't know. Um, I need to do another short video, put it on the bed, and see where we're at. But, yeah, anyway. So, we will be reading Chicago. I think what I'm going to do, what is that? What was that noise? Okay. I think what I'm going to do is just finish reading. I think I can get it done in 3 videos, so I think I'm just going to do that, and then after that we can do the Tenants gameplay, maybe Luma Island, V Rising if y'all are good with that. Just kind of go between those 3. Somebody's having a lot of fun on Discord. Thankfully y'all can't hear that. But yeah, anyway. So, um, previously on, real quick. I said I was gonna say on yesterday's video if I passed my exam or not, and I did. I got an 83. You needed a 70 to pass, so I'm very happy with that. Um, if anybody wanted to know who didn't see my post on YouTube or Twitter, yay! Also, probably for the next little bit, I'm going to try to make videos a little shorter just because I'm trying to record ahead of time, and yeah, it's better right now. So, if I have to stop in a really weird spot, I'm really sorry. But there's only 3 more videos left thereabouts. Anyway, so previously on, we read A New Dawn, the New Dawn part of the book, and that is Winter's first point of view that's like properly hers. And basically, she hasn't left. A lot of things are revealed. Kind of talks about her magic, but she doesn't really explain what it is. She's very worn out, overwhelmed, stressed out of her mind. She's feeling a lot of emotions because she had her humanity turned back on. So she's been very numb for several years. And when the boys, specifically when Cooper bit her in the leg between all of that and just everything else, it was like a switch had been flipped, and she was able to turn her emotions back on. So basically, with her situation with her boss and her new life, she wasn't really vibing with it very well. Um, for reasons that will be revealed later and whatnot, but just basically, no, it wasn't her decision to be what she is currently. But they told her it would be easier for her to manage and handle um, if she turned her emotions off, and that was a choice that she made, and she instantly regretted it, but she found she couldn't turn it back on, and then just that piece of her got smaller and smaller. But Green and Cooper, for some reason, were able to let her turn it back on, which is really weird for her, but she did. And suddenly it's all of these years worth of emotions slammed into her. And then she also has her magic back, which she has not had since she became what she is, which is a champion. Um, and yeah, so that's back, and it is exceptionally overwhelming. Um, she screwed up, and she should be gone out of Chicago, but she's waiting for Green and Cooper to get out. There's also a false moon situation going on. There's a fae on the loose. She's got the little shadows talking to her. They're not very nice. They don't like each other. It's she gives as much as she gets, and yeah. Um, yeah, it's just a different situation entirely, and to look on what she is doing. But ultimately, what she decides to do at the cost of most likely of her own life, which we know is not the case because obviously I'm writing a whole book series based on her and yes, Green and them and whatnot, but she's the main character. Um, but yes, at this moment, it would appear she is choosing to go back and help Green and Cooper get out of Chicago so that they can live and have a life that she cannot. They get to go home. She never gets to go home ever again. And they helped her and they gave her a precious gift, even for the last couple of hours of her life. And she's decided she's going to go back and help them, even though she knows her boss is going to be really angry and probably kill her as a result. Yeah. There's some other stuff in there too. She finds out, or the reader finds out that there is a golden thread between her and Green, and it is almost faint now, but it is allowing her to find him for this last little bit. So there is that. Anyway, that was kind of a really bad recap, but that's based off of my memory. Anyways, but now we are at the Crimson Sunrise, and we are back with Green and Cooper. Ah, hydration. Okay. Also, this is the last part. This is before the epilogue. So this is the last part, guys. Green and Cooper. When Cooper reached the top, he hesitated, listening intently for any breathing or even a single heartbeat. His nostrils flared, eyes unfocusing on the dim light around him as he focused on his nose. Okay, I'm going to say I'll reach the top of the ladder because they're climbing up the ladder, going back up to go back the way they came because they can't get out through the sewer. He didn't smell anyone nearby, not that there was a draft, but vampires were rather rank, and he didn't smell any fresh death. No sounds of living or non-living beings, and no smell of them. So he poked his head out of the hole. Yes, I'm adding of the hole. And breathed a near silent sigh of relief when no one was around. They may be out of time, but if there had been anything he learned from the army, other than how to do his own laundry, it was to not be hasty in dire situations. That's how you got shot. It was a lesson he had learned from an unfortunate experience. Cooper clambered up and out of the manhole, shifting the man cover further to the side to allow room for Ryu, who was holding onto Green's back for dear life. She may be free, but the danger was far from over. Green did his best to hurry, but not jostle her too much, feeling her tiny fingers digging into his shirt tightly, but her grip was slipping. The ladder was a long one, and she would hurt herself on the way down, if the chains didn't snap her ankles and leave her dangling. He silently willed her to hang on and thanked the mother when he got to the top of the ladder. Cooper put his hands under her armpits, lifting her up under Ryu's armpits. You know what? I'm going to try really hard not to edit a ton as I go, but yeah. Cooper put his hands under Ryu's armpits, lifting her up before Green climbed up and off the ladder fully. Coop, let me go first. No time! Cooper waved Green off, using his senses to be alert for any danger as he opened the door, peering out cautiously before heading down the halls. Green forced his creeping anxiety down, shifting his mind to a different mindset. One of war, not of fear and exhaustion. This club was an invading battlefield, and they were the extraction team. Ryu was the target of acquisition. Now they had her. They just needed to extract her to safety. Cooper was the scout because he had the best senses. That left Green as the strong tank, meant to protect the vulnerable target. This was the best scenario for the situation they found themselves in. The two men moved quickly through the halls, Cooper's senses allowing them to never stop moving. They made it back to the turret hallway with no resistance, but before they opened that door, Ben spoke up from the phone still in Green's pocket. "Wait, cover your ears." Ryu quickly covered her ears, shaking in fear. Green clamped his hands over Ryu's, giving her tender ears extra protection. The turrets whirled and boomed. Afterwards, all Green could hear was a loud ringing. Ryu screamed once, crying miserably as she huddled down, shaking. The air smelled of blood and gunpowder, gurgles of death just beyond the metal door. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Go! The ringing made everything difficult to concentrate on. Alpha, go! Move! Go! Go! Ben's voice mixed with the ringing, but the message managed to cut through the horrible noise. The men yanked open the door, Green scooping Ryu up to barrel down the hallway with Cooper. Both of them hopped over the pile of dead men in suits, glassy eyes staring out at the world they left behind. Stay there. Ben's voice was still mixing with the ear ringing. There's a group above in the club, but the gunfire spooked them. Cooper took cover behind a pile of boxes, gulping down breaths of air as Green set Ryu down, hiding her behind him as he took cover behind a different set of plastic tubs. Carefully, he unwrapped the chain from his arm, setting it down beside the girl for the moment. How many? Green asked, watching Cooper begin to rummage through one of the boxes. 5, all armed. There are 4 more outside and a lot more within 3 minutes. A lot more incoming, I should say. I lied, I will be doing some editing, I can't help it. There are a lot more incoming within 3 minutes. Even if you can get through those 9, we'll be swarmed, Coop finished flatly, pulling out strings of Christmas lights. Green looked at him quizzically. Cooper shrugged. Hey, remember what Sarge always said, use what you got. I can throw these like grenades, no biggie. The 5 are splitting up. Ben's voice got quieter. 2 are going to the trapdoor opening in the basement where you are. Green eyed the open trapdoor, then quietly snuck to be underneath the metal stairs. He was hidden in the shadows. Cooper held his Christmas arsenal, ready to chuck it at a moment's notice. Green motioned for him to stay hidden behind his boxes. A wild, feral grin grew on Cooper's face as he realized what Green's potential plan was, and the coyote settled down, hunkering further into the dark gloom. Footsteps echoed on the concrete above them. The trapdoor opening only illuminated so much. The early morning did not give quite enough light for normal humans to see very well, and this worked to Green's advantage. The footsteps were trying to be quiet, but they were suede shoes on stained concrete floors. The boys were able to clearly hear the men above their heads circling, likely with guns aimed down in the hole, fingers on triggers. Eventually, the footsteps stopped at the top of the stairs, and it was just the awful ringing mixed with nerve-jittering silence. Cooper waited, heart thundering in his chest, palms sweaty, and fingers itching for the fight. For the gunfire to start up again. For the adrenaline rush he was barely holding at bay to be set free, and for the battle to truly begin. Green's stomach was a bunch of twisting nerves. He was motionless, muscles coiled, primed, and ready to strike. Ready for the enemy to make the first move. All Green needed was for them to come down the steps in front of him. The men would be slow, and he would be fast. His hands would wrap around their ankles, and he would tug. Cooper would be ready with his Christmas shrapnel. The first man would fall down the stairs, and the second man would likely try to cover his partner and take a few shots, but there would be Christmas lights, and if they were lucky, he would rear backwards and or lose his footing, resulting in a nasty tumble. Then 2 of the 5 would be dealt with. As for the other 3, Green was not sure of them just yet. He just needed one of them to come down here, and the fight would begin. 3, 2, 1. A shadow was cast in the column of dim illumination, the feet belonging to that shadow slowly descending the metal stairs. Clunk, thunk, clunk. The man was slow, very clearly training his gun to see if there was anyone he could shoot in the cluttered, small storage room. Green held his breath, waiting for the right moment. Time slowed down, like a spiraling vortex. Clunk. Green's heart thudded in his ears, anxiety's jumping frogs ribboning in the pit of his stomach. Thunk. His gaze was solely focused on the man's ankles, nearing ever closer to the stair he desired. All Green needed was for him to go a little further. Clunk. As if by their own will, Green's hands shot forward through the metal steps and grabbed the man's ankles, one sharp tug catapulting the man forward. A surprised yelp pierced the air before the clattering crash of a body taking a tumble down filled the ringing silence. The man's pistol skittered away into the shadows as he landed at the base of the stairs, thankfully unconscious, with a large bloody knot on his forehead. Jimmy! His partner did not come down the hatch, instead taking a shot at Green, who was back to hiding in the shadows. The first bullet went through the step spaces, slamming into the concrete at an inch from Green's left cheek. Concrete exploded and the shrapnel pierced his skin in superficial but painful cuts that welled red immediately. The second shot ricocheted off the metal steps, embedding itself in the floor. Ryu's whimper was covered by the ringing and 2 bangs. Cooper crept silently out from his hiding place, a big, wiry ball of Christmas lights at the ready. He chucked them at the man's face at the first opportunity, snatching a box next and chucking it faster than the man could react after getting a face full of Christmas lights. Gunfire opened above, and panicked shouts rang out. "What the fuck? Don't shoot me, dumbasses!" The box slammed into the man's sternum and sent him caterwauling backwards, a resulting crash being heard moments later. "What now, Green?" Cooper hissed quieter than the humans above could hear, footsteps thundering as men crossed the room to check on the other man. They would be surrounded soon. They had to think quickly, but to do what? I don't know. I could shift and maybe get a surprise on them. And then what? Get shot? A tiger isn't faster than a coyote, and a coyote isn't faster than a bullet coop. Green refused to let him do it. To let Cooper do it. I love my pronouns. I say as sarcastically as possible. And a coyote isn't faster than a bullet coop. Green refused to let Cooper do it. Green had the strength, and the tiger's mass was better than the coyote's litheness. If someone was going to get shot, it was going to be him. Just try to get Ryu out of here, alright? No matter what. Green pulled the phone out of his pocket and skidded it across the floor to Cooper, who snatched it up. Lauren began to speak, Ben hammering away at his keyboard in the background. Green? What the? That's very... Okay. I don't... Okay, I just fixed something, and then I just fixed the formatting. That was fun. But Kieran was no longer listening. The tiger surging forth from the jungle in his mind to the concrete storage room of the real world. Skin melted away into a soft tiger's pelt, hands turned into giant paws, teeth and bones, elongating and twisting into the king of the jungle, a large, strong beast with the combined strength of a wolf and a tiger. McCormick's gift provided him with more energy and strength than he normally would have. Than Green could normally have. I'm sorry. The tiger quietly snarled as it padded up the stairs, metal creaking under his weight. It was more than ready for a fight. Cooper swore under his breath and darted over to snatch up Ryu's chain, one hand on her shoulder, both crouched and ready to run if given an opening. Ben, how bad is it? Lauren answered for her mate. He's going to get shot at. Then he damn well better be faster than a bullet, or I am going to kill him. Ryu shivered beside him. Cooper slid the phone into his pocket. I want my daddy. Coop patted her shoulder. It's okay, bucko. We're going to get you out of here no matter what. All Green had to do was not get shot and create an opening. And then what? They would fight an entire clan of pissed off vampires and their human mercenaries? It was a shit situation, and when gunfire, a bellowing roar, and screams erupted above, Cooper ran forward with Ryu, keeping low and peeking up the hatch. The coast looked clear, but popping out at the wrong moment would mean death, so he stayed put, keeping Ryu behind him. Above, the tiger had stalked its prey, a group of 3 surrounding a downed man with Christmas decorations scattered around them. There were 2 men with guns pointed at the hatch, but only one took fire at the fast snarling animal while the other one panicked at a wild animal suddenly emerging from the secret basement of the nightclub. The bullet pierced the tiger's shoulder, but adrenaline mixed with the slicing pain, and all the tiger could think of was kill. This was a different feeling entirely to the cursed beast from before. This was natural. Green and the tiger were one. Their intent was the same. Cut down anyone that was in their way. Protect Pack. Protect the child. Kill the invaders. Escape. No mere mortal wound would get in their way. Kill, the tiger snarled, claws raking into man flesh, strong jaws opening and chomping down onto bones and limbs. Kill, Green agreed, and together the 2 dispatched the remaining men in bloody carnage. Kill, Green agreed, and together to dispatch the remaining men in bloody carnage. The soft velvet fur of the animal soon matted in blood. Gunfire went off, bullets stung, anger spiked, mixing with adrenaline until every last man was dead. Chunks of flesh and shreds of cloth were everywhere. Cooper, now, Green commanded, ears flickering at the sounds of panic and unease coming from the front of the club. There were no windows to see through, but there was a big, beautiful skylight above that allowed light to cascade down on the dance floor. The back doors crashed open as Cooper hauled ass up the steps, Ryu hot on his heels. Men came running in, and this time the tiger ran for cover, using the booths as bullets whizzed around him. "Why is there a tiger in here, boss?" "That's not a tiger! Kill it!" "Yes, sir!" More yelling ensued, drowned out by bangs of gunpowder and loud snarling. Cooper took cover from the men with Ryu by a booth, painfully aware that they were open on their front side. From his vantage point, Cooper could partially see the front doors, still closed, and they were open from the second door balcony and the skylight above. And they were open to getting shot at, I should say that, from the second floor balcony and the skylight above. If someone were to get a marksman up there, they could move forward and get cover for the front and partially the balcony. Hang on. I'm not the best at writing these sorts of scenes, but it took me a little while. But it's not horrible, hopefully. Cooper and Ryu could move forward and get cover for the front and partially the balcony, but then they would be open from the back where the current bullets were coming from. "Ben, if you have eyes on a good exit, now's the time to let me know," Cooper called out. "I have nothing, Cooper. There are more outsiders surrounding the building, but we have bigger problems," Ben squeaked. Lauren spoke up loudly. "Cooper, it looks like weird homing missiles are outside." "What?" "Look, are all exits covered by the clan?" "Yes," Ben said. "But they aren't coming in just yet because of the weird missiles." Let me know if that changes." Cooper ducked his head further, putting his arms over Ryu. "Green, both exits are covered. There's nowhere to go." "I'll make a way." Green was trying to, at least. But there were 6 men jamming up the back exit hallway, 2 covering the group's rear, while the front 4 were trying to shoot him. It was all he could do to avoid the gunfire and hope they weren't trained enough for some of them to provide cover fire while the others reloaded. He would be open if he just ran and attacked them, but 4 legs were better than 2 right now. He just needed an opening. Or Green just needed an opening, I will say. Shattered glass erupted from the skylight, a hot, sizzling noise followed by the sound of crashing shards hitting the concrete floor. The men started shouting for different reasons, and suddenly it became apparent what exactly Ben and Laura meant by weird homing missiles. Little white balls with flowing tails were streaking through the air, causing absolute mayhem. Everything they hit burned, and it seemed as if there was no rhyme or reason to the pattern. But there were easily 30 of them in the suddenly too small space. 30 of the burning balls. In the suddenly too small space. Cooper had just enough time to yank Ryu out of the way as one came careening through a booth, melting through the fabric and wood like it was butter. The tail tickled Cooper's arm, and immediately he was howling, a large 4-inch scalding burn covering where it had touched him. "Green, don't let them touch you! These suckers burn!" "Charlie, how bad?" Lauren exclaimed in horror from his pocket. "I'll live!" Cooper ducked and ran with Ryu, trying to find any place that was safe from the weird burning balls. "It's like they're stars, but it doesn't make any sense." "Could it be Winters?" Ben clicked wildly through the cameras. "Her thing is shadows. This is balls of fire or something. I don't know." As Cooper was struggling to keep Ryu and himself away from the rogue balls, Green was struggling to both avoid gunfire and the new threat. As the tiger, he could sense a sort of magic in the air, crackling with primordial energy. It made the tiger snarl, hackles raising and heartbeat quickening. This was something it could not so easily rip and shred, but Green knew this was also messing with the men they were hunting. So we use it to our advantage. The tiger growled its approval, leaping in the air over a low-flying ball. The burning heat radiated... What did I just say? The burning heat radiated through his fur, but he was careful to not be hit. The well-organized group had now scattered, the narrow hallway becoming a death trap. One man was slumped on the wall, a gooey melting hole in the middle of his chest. Everyone else was trying to avoid the tiger and the balls, but they were distracted. As the balls sizzled by at alarming speeds, the tiger crept around a corner and sunk his teeth into a man's calf, yanking him to the ground and finishing the job quickly. One man screamed as a ball caught him on his back, the tail sliding across the back of his suit. The tiger ended his suffering much in a similar fashion, one paw on the scalding, bubbling burns on the man's now exposed flesh. The heat transferred to the cat's paws, and it snarled in pain. It was like the heat of 1,000 suns. Focus. We hunt. Drawing on the gifted strength, they continued silently stalking their prey and avoiding bullets as they came, until one by one every man in the club fell. The hot balls were both deadly and useful, but just as Green and Cooper thought they may be able to get out of with those things on the loose, the balls disappeared, fizzling out of existence, as if they never existed in the first place. But the deadly destruction remained. Walls had burning holes, furniture was on fire and in fragmented ruin, people were dead, and glass windows had been shattered, their fragments melted by the extreme heat. It was unlike anything either of the boys had seen before, but they didn't have time to think on the implications as both the front and back doors crashed open and even more people came rushing in with weapons drawn. Green snarled and ran, taking cover once more, trying to avoid the ruined wooden splinters, wet splotches of crimson, melted glass and concrete, all throughout the club. Any one of those could make the tiger slip and lose his speed. Or his life. Cooper darted to cover with Ryu, eyes wildly looking around. The back group was focused on Green, but the front was clearing the club, and there was nowhere for them to go. He had Ryu hide under a still-standing table, her chain making loud clinking noises that the men could hear, narrowing in on their position. Desperate, Cooper snatched up a long piece of wooden banister fallen from the star's destruction. Oh. I'm going to say balls. Because they don't actually know that it's stars. I know that it's stars, but shush. And prepared to wield it. Cooper would not die without taking at least one of them with him. The men inched around the short line of booths he and Ryu were crouched by, fingers on their triggers. The blazing balls had frazzled them, but they still had a job to do, and they greatly outnumbered the intruders. 3 on each side of the line of booths going around at the same time, with another 4 as backups. 3 men on each side of the line of booths going around at the same time with another 4 men as backup. Guns at the ready. Or all with guns at the ready. It would be easy. Hang on. Until the shadows moved. Black blobs whispered as they appeared under Ryu, and she froze, fear caught in her throat. Claws and whispers giggled with glee, slinking out from her hiding place. The shadows moved as if a bubbling river across the floor, pooling around Cooper's feet, one claw poking the burn on his arm. All he could do was watch in surprise as they disappeared into the floor and under the booths. Winters was here. His keen ears heard the whispers, but the human assailants did not. Therefore, they had no idea of their soon-to-be demise. Even as he heard the men coming around behind him, he prepared to strike at the men rounding the corner in front of him. Except they never did. Panicked voices from the 4 tickled the smoke-tinged air, the men disappearing, one by one, being eaten by shadows in one place, and their lacerated bodies being dumped across the club. The whispering shadows seemed delighted, claws scratching the concrete floors, walls, and every surface they could find. Cooper, what's happening? Is it Winters? Lauren hissed from his pocket, trying to be quiet, but her voice was cracking. Yeah, I think so. Got ice, Ben? Cooper crept back to Ryu, acutely aware that the shadows weren't exactly friends. Negative. Yet, if the shadows were moving, Winters had to be around here somewhere. But where? Even as the shadows stalked the remaining men targeting Cooper, Green's group was still playing target practice with a pissed-off tiger. A bullet nicked his tail, and the resounding roar rattled their bones, followed by more gunfire. He had managed to get the jump on one of them, maiming him greatly and sending his gun skidding across the floor, but was unable to kill him before having to avoid his prey's comrades, running away from a hail of bullets. Okay, hang on. Green had managed to get the jump on one of them. There we go. Smoking brass stung Green's large paws, poking in between his foot pads, but he kept moving, focusing on the hunt instead of the painful injuries that were slowly making themselves known. The scent of blood and decay hit the tiger's senses first, a familiar, earthy fragrance, combined with a reeking stink of bad hygiene. Winters. Salutations. The troublesome woman's voice appeared somewhere to his right, startling the gunman pinning the tiger down. Gunfire erupted in that direction, and she made a yelping noise as the tiger darted around the corner. Shadows whisked her away just before she got hit, and this distraction allowed him to pick another one off. Another, man off. You did not want me to duck! There she was again, bending her head as more bullets rolled through the air. The men were shouting things about impossible and magic, not knowing just how right they were. Winters disappeared again as the tiger rounded the corner, quickly trying to reach her. Instinct had him taking a left through the ruins, booths, and tables. Green launched himself through the air, crashing into Winters as she appeared again, his large body easily sending her to the ground as bullets tickled his ear hairs. She smacked into the ground with a grunt of pain, head hitting the concrete and knees jerking up into the tiger's soft underbelly. I'm putting names. Okay. Ow, Green, really? I am here to help! Green snarled into her bloodied face. If it was possible, she looked even worse than the last time they had seen her mere hours ago. So much blood. How is Winters still alive? Concern and relief flooded his system, clouding the adrenaline for a moment. Winters almost got shot. That was stupid of her to just pop in here. She shouldn't be here. Winter's spinning eyes focused on the cat's large nose pressed down on her ruined one. Well, I did not exactly know it was to be a firearm fight. I was not warned, she squeaked when the tiger laid down on her as more bullets flew through the ruined booth that was barely hiding them. They would have to move soon. But I made a promise, and I intend to keep it. Earnest blue eyes that sparkled with purpose stared into the glowing green eyes of the tiger, and her fingers cautiously touched his fur. I'm going to get you and Cooper home. Now let us finish this. And let me help. Please? Green could not respond, but Winter seemed to understand his emotions all the same. A tight smile gracing her bloodied porcelain features before her eyes glowed, and she disappeared under him, shadows once again stealing her away. Greetings, shifter number 1. Cooper's hand shot out, gripping her neck for a split second out of instinct before he let go, snarling in frustration. Geez, Winters, don't do that! Do you want to get killed? A snarling whine trailed off in the air. She rubbed her neck, unbothered. I am here to help, she simply said, watching the shadows shred a booth across from them. Cooper gestured at it. At the site, I should say. How is that helping? That's potential cover those things are ruining. It is chaos. They did not say they would provide helpful chaos. The final words were muttered with dark frustration, but Winters cleared her throat. So, we need to get you 3 out of the building. Yes? They are surrounded, Miss Winters, Ben piped up, sounding frazzled. Oh, hello again, she called out, looking around for the phone. Cooper rolled his eyes and pointed at his pocket. Winters waved at it. Yes, the clan is sending everyone they can. She did not seem that bothered by it. But I am here to help. Okay, great. How? Carpet sushi roll again? Cooper was panicking. Sarcasm was his shield. She blinked at him. Sushi roll? There's not enough time for this, Lauren spoke calmly from the pocket. Winters nodded. Cooper groaned. Of course, she agreed readily, peering around the booth corner. Cooper sensed a man coming around, but before he could get up to charge the attacker, wooden debris flung through the air, bitten by Winter's outstretched hand. The fragments harmlessly slapped the man's knees. What the heck? Then the air was filled with screaming, as greedy shadows clawed into him until only gurgled sounds of fading life were heard. Winters nodded again. Now, that is more like it. Thank you. The shadows bobbed off quickly, clearly having the time of their strange lives. Are you speaking to the shadows again? Cooper picked up more bits of debris and started chucking it over the booths, aiming towards whoever he could hear without looking. The front doors were constantly opening and closing now as people charged into the fight, and from the smell of rotten decay, there were now vampires in the fray. What was a shit situation was turning into an absolute clucker, as Aggie would put it. Yes, Winter said, then looked around. I do not suppose you have a firearm, do you? I might be able to get you one. She began to crouch and walk to the edge of the booth, doubled over. Why not get a shadow to bring me one? Or several? Several would be great. More debris got thrown about, joining the bullets speeding through the atmosphere. They are not exactly being helpful right now. She said this as if it made perfect sense. But nothing about Winters made sense. Oh, right, of course. More screams of death filled the air as the tiger got another kill and the shadows snatched at more men. With a sinking feeling, Cooper saw humans lugging a large bag up the stairs, heading to the balcony. From there, they would be able to have a vantage point on the entire battlefield. Something would have to be done about them, and soon. If anything, given the utter madness of their surroundings. More bullets slammed into the weakened wooden backing of their booth cover. Ryu screamed as one bullet embedded itself just over her head. Shit, shit, shit! Cooper cursed, sliding back to the frightened little girl. It was all Cooper could do to keep chucking debris, keep Ryu safe and shielded, and then there was Winters, who barely looked bothered by any of the bullets whizzing around. Was she not afraid of getting hit? Of dying? Was this a joke to her, as she had her hand out and looked like she was trying to grasp the air? Cooper didn't want Winters shot, but if he had to pick who to protect, it was definitely going to be Ryu. Winters, with whatever she was doing, was on her own. So Cooper scanned the field, eyeing the back door that felt like a million miles away. For now, the back hallway was cleared of people, but it was a decent jog across the expansive club and right down the middle of Bullet Avenue as Green was desperately trying to dodge gunfire. For now, that was going to be a no-go. Now, the front door, that was a different story entirely. There was a group of men that were clearly posted at the door in an effort to keep them from getting out. More people were streaming in, some without any obvious weapons and pointed fangs. They seemed more concerned with Winter's shadows that were just wreaking havoc across the field, and not so much on the two invaders to their territory, here to steal back what was never theirs. To get Ryu through the front door right now was going to be nigh impossible, and that included the few windows that were scattered around the club. There were just too many people for Cooper to take on by himself. If Coop could turn into a coyote, then maybe, but then he would have to leave Ryu, and that was not happening. He also wasn't about to leave her with Winters, given the ankle cuffs and chain. Wait. Sushi carpet roll. The gutter. Magic? Of course. Hey, Winters! Coop yelled out, trying to get her distracted attention over the pew-pew boom-booms. The crouched woman's hand was extended outwards past the point of cover. He saw 3 bullets barely miss. But Cooper felt the stir of magic in the air. Yes? Winters called back, clearly straining with something. More bullets slammed into their cover, bullet holes leaving hazy light rays through the smoky gloom. I need your help! Cooper dove for Ryu when she screamed, her shoulder getting nicked by another hail of bullets. The assailants were coordinating, deciding to spray down the booth. Cooper took a bullet nick to the leg and swore curses that would make a sailor blush, even as he clamped a hand on the young girl's shaking shoulder. I need you to get Ryu somewhere safe and get these chains off. Can you do that? If Ryu was with Winters, then he could take coyote form and do something, maybe. Or help Green and coordinate something. The smallest force of magic vibrated in the air as the booth was sprayed down in a hail of bullets once more, miraculously not hitting anyone. Cooper watched as a pistol slid across the floor way too fast for him to intercept as it slid right on by them. His neck twisted to follow it, as did Winters, who was scrambling to try and bring it back, both watching helplessly as it thunked and rebounded off a crumbled table where it finally lay still, waiting. Across the room, more men screamed as shadows were chasing them, scratching their clothing until they were bloody. Bullets did nothing to the strange creatures. Green was hunting with much more ease than he had been before, but the vampires were coming up on him. Soon the tiger would be overwhelmed. Cooper needed Winters to do this for him. So when she scooted back towards him, for the first time looking exceedingly frustrated since she had appeared, trying to get the firearm to come back their way, he took a hold of her wrist, meeting her wide gaze with his own. He pulled her outstretched arm down, squeezing her thin wrist once in a gentle, confirming way. It's okay. I can get to it. What I need from you, Cooper. It's okay. I can get to it. What I need from you, Cooper emphasized, imploring Winters with his intense stare, is to get Ryu to safety, hide her away, and get those chains off. Give Green and I enough time to clear away. Keep Ryu safe. Please, Winters, I'm begging you here. Winters wanted to help. She had come back even after she was free and clear, having done her part before all of this started. Shadow's not being helpful and all. Winters was injured, but she wasn't useless. Trusting her with Ryu's safety. Cooper couldn't explain it, but it felt right. So when Winters swallowed thickly and nodded, letting her arm go limp, Cooper let her go. He then gestured to the open hatch in the floor, just 20 yards away from them, out in the open where the gunfire was happening as people were still shooting at the large beast from the back of the club. In the back of the club. I'll provide cover. Take her and get her down there. Use the boxes as cover. Don't go into the open hallway down there. There's guns that may or may not be friendly down that way. Okay, Cooper, I will do it. I promise. She will be safe. Winters assured Cooper even as he launched himself out into the fray, going straight for the pistol that was lying there, waiting for someone to use it. Bullets hurtled through the air, zinging his skin with their force. He threw himself into the ground, rolling across the hard floor with a grunt, snagging the pistol as he thumped behind cover. Instincts took over as he flopped over onto his belly, fingers releasing the magazine to check for bullets, sliding the slide back to empty the chamber. A bullet was ejected and he scrambled to catch it, loading it quickly into the partially full magazine before he slammed it home, pulling the slide back one more time. He did this all with the efficiency of a man who had seen many wars, and a cold sense of calm overcame him. Cooper had a weapon, and he had a plan. He could fight back. Cooper slowly crawled forward and examined the situation. Winters had Ryu out from the dark underside of the booth. Both were looking at him, waiting for a signal. Winters was holding the chain and attached concrete chunk in her arms, her broken right hand curling around the chunk painfully. There were maybe 10 people trying to get closer to their hiding place now, along with 3 humans above who were putting together the final touches of a minigun. Once that was set up, it would be game over, and he knew it. So Cooper took aim, going for someone's peaked head above. They didn't realize he had a weapon. None of them realized the fighter changed. And soon as Cooper took the shot, everyone would know. The element of surprise was slim, and he wouldn't lose it. So he had to act fast. Winters, now! His finger curled around the trigger, the recoiling blast of the pistol in his hand sending force back into his secure palms. A bright flash of gunpowder ignited in the barrel and sent the little chunk of lead hurtling through the air, embedding itself in the wall above in a gory spray of crimson. The body dropped, slumped over a bag of ammunition, a bullet-shaped hole in the side of the man's head. Winters and Ryu took off, running and sliding crouched to the open hatch of the secret basement. The men were confused, realizing that one of their targets had a weapon, that the fight had changed. They all took cover, some shooting for Cooper even as he nailed one of the men in the chest, his body joining the others on the ground, never to get up again. Only a few of the vampires did not care, flitting across the room to go for the child, never to reach them. Cooper shot one of them, and the other 3 grabbed onto the back of Winter's jacket, only for something to happen. A mini blast, sending them rolling backwards, well off of their feet. A big pop occurred, and the 3 spontaneously burst into flames, screaming as the shadows dropped a lighter. Whatever just happened sent Winters and Ryu tumbling down into the basement, but Cooper couldn't check to see if they were okay. He had to trust Winters. He had to. Cooper, you both need to get out of there. There's too many! Lauren yelled over the gunfire. More come! The phone line went dead. Cooper didn't stop shooting. He was on his own. They all were. Hang on. I'm trying to decide if I should read a little bit more, if this is somewhat a good spot to stop. What page is this? So we're on 161 of 176. Oh my. Wait, did I just say 160? Okay, you know what? Actually, I have time today. I have time to make this one longer. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna finish it, you guys. We got like 8 more pages to go of this. Like we can do that. Okay. So, okay. The tiger across the room didn't know any of this was going on. It was hunting, running, surviving. There were men with guns, men that wanted to kill him and hurt his friends, hurt a child under his protection. That was not to happen. It would not, so long as he kept going. The beast's injuries were taking their toll, but McCormick's parting gift was his saving grace. Was Green's saving grace, sorry. Even Green's calm, collected, logical mind, that of a man, was all but gone. It was just the tiger, fighting an overwhelming tide with no end in sight. The tiger could swim, but the tiger could only swim for so long. No, I couldn't think that way. Here we go. No thinking, just instinct. Hunt, kill. Hunt, fight, kill, maim, tear, protect, save. If he killed all of them, then his pack brother and the child would be safe. The Fae was here to help. That was good. Just a little more fighting, then they could survive. They could all escape. So the tiger hurled itself across the room, using the tattered holy booths that were barely standing as cover. The shadows whirled around the room, going faster than the tiger, outpacing the beast like it was a race and they were the hare. For every man the tiger ended, the shadows picked off 2 or 3 in a variety of creative ways, throwing them around, a quick slash to the throat, eating them whole, impaling them on some metal table rod. They were ruthless and clearly playing, having the time of their lives even as the beast fought to survive against the endless tide. Time had no meaning in this battle. There were just men, blood, and carnage. The large cat's muscles ached with the prolonged activity. Adrenaline rushed with no end in sight. Air snaked in and out of enlarged nostrils and into pained lungs. His paws were burned and bloodied, and he was missing 3 nails that got ripped off during the fight. Its tail was nicked with cuts, scrapes, and near misses with hot flying metal. He had many injuries and at least 3 bullet wounds, 2 of which were still embedded, but the pain ceased to mean anything anymore. If the cat allowed the pain to take over, then adrenaline would stop and his survival would drastically decrease. That could not happen. So he kept going and fighting, trying to win a fight there was no hope in winning. He lunged, jaws clamping down on a man's jugular. 1 down. Took off running again, hind legs sliding in the crimson river, narrowly missing getting shot again. Claws extended, sinking into another man. Running away yet again. This was what the cat had to do. Run and dodge, weave and kill. It was working. For now, at least. And only against the humans. Hang on, I closed my door, and I have a Watson that wants out of my room. Okay. The vampires were another story. They were at a standstill. They were faster than him, but he was an old tiger who had fought many things. They were young, freshly turned men who had never faced someone like him. Their fangs sunk into his flesh even as his jaws tore them apart. Then there were the shadows, which they were more afraid of. At first they treated the shadows like they were not there, or perhaps even friendly, until the shadows started throwing wooden spears around. Wooden stakes could end the younger vampire's undead existence, so they scattered and ran away. The shadows did not try to kill them like the humans, but nor did they let the vampires get comfortable. This allowed the tiger to get the jump on a few of them, at least until they got smart and chose to try and avoid both the tiger and the shadows, waiting for an opening. And eventually, they got one. The humans swarmed the tiger, pinning him behind wreckage with gunfire. A human came up behind him, which he knew was happening. The human's screams barely registered even as coppery liquid hit the tiger's taste buds. He did not sense the vampire rushing in from behind, but he did feel the vampire's cold, strong grip on his neck. Impossibly strong legs straddled the beast like a pony as the vampire tried to tear the tiger's skin apart. Choke it out, rip its heart from its ribcage, something, anything. It felt like a weird, annoying gnat. The beast couldn't shake, so it ran, leaping over wreckage, risking sizzling bullets as he tried to run faster, taking turns sharper and riskier, all in an effort to shake the vampire who was trying to kill him. Sharp nails sliced into his neck as he roared, stowing himself into a barrel roll of death, twisting to try and get claws into the bloodsucker, but the vampire was quick and had backup. There were no more bullets as 3 more vampires jumped onto the beast, emboldened by their comrade's successful hunt. Claws rendered skin from bone, but Vampires did not have the same pain as mortal men did and ignored it, merely pinning down the tiger's limbs to the best of their ability. The shadows grew through wooden debris around, but did not dare to touch the vampires, instead going after the humans with greater ferocity than before. The tiger roared and snarled, biting hands, arms, anything it could reach, even as he felt the cold nails digging into his flesh. No! He would not go down this way. He had to fight. He had to. And he was. But it was not enough. Loud streams of gunfire resounded through the club. The minigun was up and running, manned by 2 men with murder in their gaze. They were shooting at Cooper's cover. Cooper had been moving and picking off whoever he could, grabbing weapons and conserving ammo, trying to get an angle on the balcony gunners, but to no avail. But when Cooper heard Green's agonizing snarls, he knew. With 2 bullets left and seeing his friend being pinned down by vampires, literally being torn apart alive, Cooper didn't think. He just reacted. 1 bullet through a vampire's left eye. The last bullet through another's neck. The now useless metal tool flung through the air with the accuracy of a once pro baseballer, hurtling into a vampire's face at 86 miles per hour. It was known that vampires did not die from lead bullets. Losing massive amounts of blood did not mean much to them in the way that it did for other species. Pain did not register in the same way for them as it did for humans. But being shot in strategic places threw them off. They still felt loss of limb, still recoiled from getting hit by harsh things. Taking a bullet through an eye made a difference, especially to a young vampire. And followed by a hurtling hunk of metal, that was enough to send that one backwards, off of Green and well away and onto the floor. The other momentarily let Green go to touch the hole through his head in astonishment, twisting to look to where it came from. This gave the tiger enough of an opening to heave itself up and chomp down, fighting once more. The minigun that was pinning Cooper down suddenly stopped, needing more ammunition and overheating. It was the opening he needed, rushing to his feet and racing across the distance, grabbing wooden shafts and handles on the way. He got to his best friend as one vampire leapt on the tiger's back as it maimed the other one, nearly tearing its neck from its shoulders. The other punched the beast's neck. That was the last punch it would ever throw, as a wooden, splintered shaft slammed through its chest, piercing the undead heart. Its eyes went wide, one final breath stuttering from its opened mouth as Cooper shoved it off the tiger, it being the vampire. There was the briefest moment of peace, where the tiger turned to look at Cooper, who was gulping down air, blood on his hands, shirt, and jeans. The tiger was bloodied, had matted fur, and many injuries. There was a primal intensity in the beast's gaze. Then the minigun started up again. The tiger took off running with Cooper not far behind, but 4 legs ran faster than 2. Bullets slammed into his exposed back, and to Cooper's exposed back, piercing his stomach as he cried out, the force of gunfire sending him to his knees in the ground. The stream of bullets did not stay on him for long, hot on the heels of the tiger that could not stop moving. It couldn't stop running, even as it roared with the fury of 1,000 suns. The pack link faltered, feeling the sharp, sudden snapping of one of their own slipping beyond their reach. The tiger felt Cooper struggling to breathe, his heart racing as his body tried to fix the damage, but organs were going into shock and shutting down. Cooper did not move, the dark abyss already claiming him. No, 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 no! Cooper, get up! Voices screamed and murmured in the tiger's head, mixing with his own sorrowful cries, both of the man inside and the beast of rage. No, no, no. This couldn't be happening. It could not happen. No, not when they were so close. No! Not Cooper. Not a second. Not his best friend. Not his brother. Winters had Ryu situated behind a tall stack of boxes, shackled ankles extended for her to concentrate on. For Winters, this sort of magic was difficult. It took a precision that was mostly beyond her these days. But desperate times called for desperate measures. The shifters were above fighting the clan's immeasurable forces, and this was how the coyote had determined Winters could help. By the light, void, and nature, so it would be done. Eventually. Her pointer finger was extended, and silence was a must, or as much as it could be, given the gunfire, screams of pain, and sounds of death coming above from the open hatch. The little girl was trying to be still, acutely uncomfortable and terrified of everything going on, despite Winter's efforts for her to be calmed down. Ryu was crying, but trying to be quiet, trying to be brave, even as prickles of magical energy tickled her skin, lifting her short strands of hair. Ryu had never been around someone who could do magic before, but she knew the old stories. That magic people were bad. Her daddy had warned her. And now she was within poking distance of one, and she had to trust them. A total stranger. Trust a stranger who could do bad magic and make shadows move. Trust a stranger to do magic on her to make the awful, itchy, painful, heavy chains go away. Ryu just wanted to go home. Winters was gritting her teeth, lips pressed together into a grimace, focusing with all of her might on the difficult task at hand. To imagine the little mechanisms in the cuffs to turn, as if she had a key. Feeling the old metal as she forced it to turn over, like Winters could push it herself. To coax the magic, rogue, wild, and weak, to do this simple thing for her and not go overboard to hurt the small child in front of her. It was taking longer than Winters would have liked to admit, but it was working. Slowly, surely. The metal fought her mental grip, but she pushed even more, focusing even as whispers thudded her consciousness and tried to get her attention. Winters felt like she was being pulled in 400 different directions at once. Slowly, surely, carefully. Yes, that does it. Yes, yes, yes! With a single click, the cuffs opened and fell from the girl's bruised ankles, causing Ryu to yelp and scurry backwards further into the shadows, eyes wide in fresh terror and at the unbelievable magic she had just witnessed. It is all right. You are free now. Winters coughed once, blood trickling from her lips. She smiled in spite of herself, feeling optimistic about all of this. Soon the shifters would be out of Chicago and going home. Her promise would be kept. Winters just needed to hide Ryu, and then she could join them above, helping them finish the enemies off, and then they would be on their way. She did it! She got Ryu to safety and freed her from her shackles, just as she told Cooper she would. Then the louder stream of gunfire started up once more, ruining the ear-ringing silence. A man screamed. A tiger roared. Something inside of Winters twisted. A heavy knowledge threatened to overwhelm her already delicate frame of mind. Her skin prickled, and the little bloody smile brought to life by the glow of optimism faded as the cold, brutal hand of reality closed over her ticking heart. Winters knew what was waiting for her when she climbed up those stairs. Knew who had fallen. Knew there was nothing she could do. Tears fell. Her stomach shook. Stomach acid climbed her throat. Shaking, Winters forced herself to speak as she got to her feet. Pain the only thing keeping her grounded to this world. All right, I need you to stay here. I'm going to hide you. Do not move. Do not make a sound. If you hear myself or Cooper or Green call your name, then come up. I need you to trust me. You will be safe. Shadows enveloped the shaking child as Winters turned and rushed up the stairs, limping as fast as she could. Winter's eyes swept the ruined club as she stood at the top of the hatch, ignoring the gunfire from above. All she could do was look on in despair at the crumpled, prone form that was Cooper. Winters struggled under the crushing sense of failure. Then she saw the tiger running away from the bullets that were strafing around the club, trying to catch the running feline. A cold rage filled her, and she did not think, she just reacted, screaming with all of her might, allowing her weak magic to latch onto that anger. Anger for who she had once been. Anger for her horrible tragedy. Anger for who she has become. Rage for who she could never be. Cooper and Green were supposed to get home. They were supposed to leave. They were supposed to win, something she would never get the opportunity to do. To have a family. To have a home. It was not fair. Her rage fueled a harsh streak of magic that shot out towards the gunmen at the balcony, a swirling mini vortex of debris that slammed into the men, battering on them until they let go of the gun. The vortex kept them distracted as Winter screamed again, and again, and again, until the magic slammed into them more and more, until the men did not get up. Blood caught in her lungs as tears of rage and grief streamed from her shining eyes, mixing with blood. So much blood, and it was all for nothing. The tiger raced over to his friend, the man shifting back to grab onto his brother's limp shoulders. Tears and incoherent grunts that should have been words was all he could manage, shaking his best friend, cupping his face, checking the injuries, looking for a pulse. Winters watched in the misery of failure, limping over, recoiling when his gaze locked with hers, stumbling backwards when he was on his feet faster than she could get away, shying away as Green grabbed her shoulders and shook her. Fix him. You can do magic. Fix him, please. Even as she shook her head no, he begged, demanding she do this. Green, I cannot, I'm not. He did not understand what she was, what she had lost. And it did not matter. You can fix him. Winter shook her head even as Green demanded. Winters needed to get him to understand that she could not. That Green needed to take Ryu and run. There were more outside just down the street. Green, no. You will do this. The Alpha's command was in desperation. It did not work on her, and it never would. I am not a healer, Green. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I have never been. I cannot heal. My magic cannot save him. You should take your child and go. Winters could not meet his glowing gaze. She could not bear to see it. Magic can do anything, even change fate and destiny, so fix him, Winters, please. The front door slammed open as more people came hurtling in. The shadows for once stayed their clawed hands, lingering around the two, the whispers too much for Winters. Everything was too much. It should have never ended this way. But who was to say it had to? Staring at the air in between them, at the magical language only she could see, an idea came to her head. One the whispers immediately said no to. Nature. Nature was the magic that shifters used. What bound Green and Cooper together. The pack bond. Every magical being got their magic from somewhere. If Winters could access that, there might be a chance. Ignoring the shadows, Winters locked eyes with Green. Buy me time. Green took off running, the tiger effortlessly shedding the man's skin for a deadly hunt once more as Winters turned and dove for Cooper. Her fate was already written in stone, but that did not mean his had to be. Cooper was breathing but barely, his heart barely thudding under her bloodied hand as she lay it across his still chest. He would be dead within the minute. Winters could not heal him. It was outside her scope of power, but nature. Oh, yes, the signature was there. It was everywhere. It was on every inch of him, in him. It was his very being. Threads that spoke of arid landscapes, silvery green threads that bound him to the pack, and green that were fraying. His very being. Cooper's very being was fraying, slipping away to the great beyond, wherever the dead were supposed to go. But Cooper would not be. Winters would not let him. Winters had changed fate once. She would do it again. There was still the strange moon lingering in the sky, sinking to be at a near-perfect height with the busted skylight. The strong nature magic that had summoned the strange stars was still throughout the air. I'm going to say the strange balls, I think. You know what, actually. Hang on. She could use them both. Instinct drove her to begin rolling the limp body. Hang on. To begin rolling Cooper's limp body, because it's not it's still his. To begin rolling Cooper's limp body towards a strange mix of sun and moonlight, feeling something watching her as she did so. What Winters was doing was in spite of the gods, but she did not care. As long as it worked, she would take any consequence to herself, so long as the two men got to go home. The whispering did not cease, desperately trying to convince her otherwise. Convincing her to do otherwise. It ceased when Winters spoke a simple, heartfelt plea. Help me, please. She was pushing with one hand, but it was not quick enough, not for the despairing strange moon. If Winters did not get him to that ray of moonlight, then she would not be able to do this, and she needed to. She would not be able to deal with herself if she did not save him. Not when she could. Winters could feel it. She could do it. The shadows did not lift a clawed finger. Content to watch the tiger struggle. Content to watch the minigun get another operator. Content to watch the crying woman continue to fight against the mortal clock as time ran out. The natural cycle of life and death occurring right in front of them all. Please, Winters begged. Not once did she stop to look at the shadows. Not once did she let Cooper's body go. Not once did she give up. For reasons unbeknownst to anyone but them, the shadows finally relented, whisking away the dead body of an inconsequential mortal to rest in the fading moonlight, moving their annoying champions there soon after. They left her alone, knowing what was coming was something none of them could reason with her on. They decided to go kill more of the pesky mortals and steal a few bits and bobs from the minigun, knowing their fun was soon coming to an end. Their champion had made her bed, and she would be buried in it. Winters was overtaken by the magical urge, going freely as her hands, both broken and not, rose in the air, fingers manipulating the power only she could see and access. It had been years since she had done this, and now she was doing it once more. One final time. It was worth it. It had been worth it then, and it was worth it now, whatever the cost may be. Winters was willing to pay it. Time seemed to slow down for her. The environment around her slipped away, chaos being overtaken by a cold sense of calm. The unknown presence never looked away from her. An intense gaze was square on Winter's forehead, even as she did the unthinkable. Reaching, accessing, taking magic that was not hers to take. I am sorry, I have to, Winter said over and over again. Whispering until her voice gave out, then over and over again in her head. Tears streamed until blood replaced the tears, leaking from her ears, eyes, and mouth. It was the heavy price of the spell she wove. She reached, took and took and took, stealing power as she needed, manipulating the forces that once kept Cooper tethered to this plane, finagling the pack bonds that were reaching for his fading soul. She plucked and stretched them further, threading them around his soul until they were nice and secure. She felt one of the pack bonds in a different regard than the rest. It was a healer, immortal doctor. She took that one and wove it around Cooper's body, focusing on his wounds before finishing the knot, glowing symbols invisible to all but her and the beings that could see through her eyes. A glowing sigil floated over Cooper's skin by the time she was finished. It had been a mere 2 or 3 minutes, yet it felt like infinity to Winters. But it was done. That judgmental, piercing stare grew heavier as Winters finally lifted her weak, tired blue eyes that shone with fire and purpose, glowing under that invisible, heavy stare. Forgive me. One outstretched finger tapped on the sigil, sending it cascading down into Cooper's flesh, kick-starting his heart and forcing his soul back into his body. The bonds of time around Cooper immediately froze, his wounds not getting any better nor worse. Winters had done what she could. The tiger was surrounded, once again fighting tooth and nail. Then there was Winters, whose weak grip tugged on his tail, causing him to stop a killing blow as shadows enveloped the duo, taking all of the enemies away in a haze of bloodied pain and gleeful claws. Go, Winters said, tugging on his tail, letting go as the tail disappeared and a man stood where the tiger had once been. It is done, she wheezed, pushing his bloodied bicep toward the now unconscious Cooper. Drive, just go. Your vehicle is outside through the back door. Drive until you get home to your doctor. Cooper will last. Go, Kieran. Go. Winters gave Green one more shove, stumbling as he took off towards Cooper. Ryu! She yelled, hacking up blood as she fell into a crumpled heap on the floor. Come on out! You are leaving. Winters did not get up. The little girl scampered up the stairs, the shadows keeping her safe, releasing her from their dark cloud as she ran to Green, who was scooping Cooper's broken body up in his arms. Winters, come on. We're going. We can all get out of here, Green called out, hesitating for the barest of seconds as Green looked at Winters' crumpled, bloodied form. It's free and clear for now, but it won't last. Winters raised her head to look at him. No. My path is set. Yours is not. I will stay and make certain that the Paladin will not have a trail to follow you. Winters coughed once, hacking up more blood. Go, Green, and may the gods watch over you. She did not watch as he left. The back door crashed open under Green's kicking foot. Ryu, the back seat door, please. His voice almost wasn't human. Ryu scrambled to open the car door for him to set Cooper down in the back seat. The car was running with keys in the ignition and a tank full of gas. Ryu clicked her seatbelt as he sped out the side alley, tires squealing and leaving skid marks on the dirty pavement. I'm going to say passenger seatbelt, because she's in the passenger side. Green never saw the strange moon disappear in the air above and behind him. He never looked back even when a minute later a large boom shook the city. Green did not question how the car never ran out of gas for the entire 20-hour drive home, how no cops stopped him, or how he never caught a red light. He did not question anything until much later, after adrenaline and morphine wore off. Not until Green got a week's worth of sleep and a good shower. Not until Cooper's eyes flickered open 2 weeks later in the clinic. The first words out of Cooper's mouth was a whine about wanting a beer and cheap peanuts. In the years that followed, Kieran began to think about what was dubbed the Chicago incident. And he discovered one thing. Both he and Winters had lied. She had said he would forget her, and he had promised himself that he would. But he never did. And that is the Crimson Sunrise done. My heart hurts. I don't know if that hit for anybody else, but that hurt. That hurt me. Okay, I need to go back and edit and kind of clear it up a little bit, but like, oof. Okay. Oof. Yeah, there is the epilogue left, and I will read that next episode. That is literally like 5 pages, so it's, but I'll just do that on its own. And then after that, Chicago is done, but pretty much the story and the events that happened as Green and Cooper know it, that's done. That is the Chicago incident. And yeah, Kieran didn't forget. Cooper did. Nobody forgot. Nobody put this to bed. Like, it is still very much. I mean, I said at the beginning, I think, that Chicago is infamous for these characters and where I'm at in the book. It is infamous for everybody. But in particular, those that are close to Green, those that were named in this book, those that were around and helped. This is an infamous incident that happened. But they did get home. Cooper lived, thanks to Winters. And, yeah. Yeah, sorry, my heart, I'm just like, um, but yeah, that's what happened. He doesn't know what happened to Winters. He knows nothing. I will say that he tried to find her. He tried to get glimpses on cameras, facial recognition programs, but there's no evidence of her anywhere. And what I will say is it's basically been 3 years between Chicago and my first book, when they see each other again. Yeah. But Kieran never forgets about Winters, and I can promise you she doesn't forget about him either. I love them. This hurts me though. But anyways, okay. I don't. Is it? You know how when you're done reading a really good book, you're just like, wow. I have to sit there and I have to think about it in a good way. That's me, and yet I literally, I know this. I know what happens. I know what I wrote. This is like the third or fourth time that I've read it, and it still hits me. Which I think it might be a good thing, but I have major author bias. So y'all let me know. Even though we do have one more part and it's an epilogue, but it's kind of a standalone piece of this puzzle, and it pertains to Winters and her fate at the end of this. But now that we're through pretty much just all of it when it comes to the boys, what did y'all think? And I will go a step further. If no, I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna say if. I am going to say. Well, hang on. No, I will go back to if. If y'all had the opportunity to, I guess, buy this. I don't want to ask this question because it feels weird, but if y'all were in a bookstore, y'all were seeing this, and y'all could buy it, whether it was like Amazon, bookstore, whatever it is, Kindle, would y'all like it? Would y'all want to? Is it a good enough story? I guess is what I'm asking. I really don't know. And I can't know. I can't say that it is because, author bias. But I did say that I am going to publish. I said it. I put it out there, and I put it out there, therefore I have to commit to it. And so I haven't started any steps towards it. Like researching or whatever else, because I know I'm gonna need money, and I I'm trying to get a job, and then that way I can start saving up for it and putting aside money for this. I need to edit it, and I need to find people who would be willing to sit down and read it and tell me, if anything feels off, if that makes sense, you know what I mean? Oh, hey, this is like, this isn't right. Sorry, my headset died, but or turned off, but yeah, so that's where I'm at. But I am going to try. So yeah, thank you all so very much for watching and listening. I think hopefully I'm gonna start working on the blanket part. I'm not gonna be able to finish all of it. Crap, I have to be in bed in like an hour, but I'm gonna get a good chunk of the recording of it done tonight. Um, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this story. There will be one more part, hopefully next week. We're going to Tennessee soon. I'm not sure how it's gonna go. It's 100% up in the air, and it is super stressful. It's like we're either going for, I guess we're going for 3 weeks, and I'm like, why? I don't know, but I'm gonna try to get it, especially since it's just gonna be a short video. I'm gonna try to get it done before I leave. But yeah, um, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed me reading all of this Chicago for you, and I appreciate y'all being here and listening to it. So yeah, have a great day, you guys, and I will see whoever I see for the epilogue if y'all are interested in that. Bye.